There are as many different motorcycle camping setups as there are motorcycle campers. Some can't leave home without their battery-powered coffee grinder and personal masseuse, and others throw a sleeping bag on a bike and sort of figure out the rest along the way. There is no right way to motorcycle camp. Every approach is valid. If it works for you, then it's great. That said, if you're finding yourself overwhelmed by choices and options as you venture into the world of motorcycle camping, let me run down a few of the most common use case scenarios and the types of loadouts you'll typically see in those situations. I'm going to start with the loadout I'm most familiar with, which is my own. I like to call my setup capable but comfortable. I'm not super obsessed with bringing the smallest and lightest setup, but I also don't want to make the more challenging riding harder than it has to be. I don't want to add a lot of unnecessary weight and bulk to my loadout, but I do want to be comfortable at camp and when I'm sleeping. It's not possible to be both ultralight and ultra comfortable, but I try to find a decent middle ground. I like a thicker sleeping pad, and I understand that they pack a little bigger. I like to bring 2 pillows. I like a big sleeping bag I can roll around inside of in the winter, and a quilt that is similarly roomy but with less insulation for summer trips. I don't want to sit on the ground, so I bring a camp chair. In the morning, I don't want to have to build a fire and wait for water to boil to make coffee, so I bring a jet boil. I don't want to bend over to the ground to use my jet boil, so I often bring a small table, though that is the first thing to go if the bags start to get full. If there's room, I'll throw in a pair of slippers or other shoes so I can get out of my boots at the end of the day. However, I try not to bring a ton of extra stuff, and this is something that is hard learned, and it's come from doing it the wrong way for a long time. On a multi-day trip, I typically bring 2 pairs of underwear, 2 shirts, and 1 pair of pants to wear around camp. If I bring shoes to change into, they're either super small packing slippers or sandals that I can just strap to the outside of my bag. I don't bring a ton of extra layers in case it gets cold. I just throw my riding gear back on and deal with it. Food-wise, I'll pack a couple dehydrated meals for emergencies, but generally just try to find food along the way. I don't bring a bunch of cooking utensils and really have no way to cook anything more complicated than a hot dog on a stick or in my jet boil at camp. Luggage-wise, I like to stick to rackless setups where I can because it saves the weight of pannier racks, and when I run big panniers, I have a tendency to fill them up. I bring tools for the stuff I know how to fix, but leave the hydraulic jack and other advanced things that I probably won't need at home. I try to ensure that everything I take will get used and not bring a lot of just-in-case stuff. My preferred bike is a mid-size, as close to 450 pounds as possible, ADV bike like the Touareg 660, or a heavier, more reliable Japanese dual sport like a DR650 or a 300L Rally. The ADV bikes I like sometimes come with advanced features like cruise control, but the dual sports definitely do not. Those things are nice, but not something I have to have. That's how I roll, kind of stick to the middle. Little comfortable, little ultralight, but really not like excelling at either one of those things. On the far end of the spectrum is what I like to call the minimalist. The minimalist is about keeping their bike as light and fast as possible so they can take on the toughest terrain. They are the ultimate camp-to-ride moto campers. You'll typically find the minimalist astride the fastest, lightest plated bike they can find. Here in Oregon, where we can't plate dirt bikes, that typically means something like a KTM 500 EXCF. In other places with more generous vehicle registration laws, you sometimes see these guys on actual dirt bikes like a WR 450F. In extreme cases where more gear is required or the riding distances are very long, you might see the minimalist on something as big as a KTM 690, but that'd be the farthest they would go. If the minimalist brings a tent, it's a one-person backpacking tent or just a bivvy. Often, they just bring some paracord and a tarp to sleep under when it's raining and on top of when it isn't. Inflatable sleeping pad? Nah, they're either rocking a foam backpacking pad or just some fir boughs they pulled off of a nearby tree. Sleeping bag? Hell no. The minimalist brings a quilt at most. They'd go with just a wool blanket bushcraft style if the damn thing didn't take up so much space. Pillows? Too bougie. A rolled up riding jacket will work just fine. As far as cooking, maybe the minimalist brings a titanium pot that goes into the fire for boiling water for coffee and for rehydrating their homemade dehydrated meals. A silky saw and a ring of rocks is all the stove they'll ever need. Luggage-wise, it's typically the smallest bag they can find that'll fit their small amount of gear. While others use 20-liter rackless saddlebags for day trips, the minimalist makes it their mission to fit all their camping gear into one. Anything that doesn't fit was something they didn't need anyway. Extra clothes are unnecessary. The minimalist wears the same stuff every day. The aroma they acquire after a few days helps keep the bugs away anyway. Obviously, I'm having a little fun here, but you get the idea. For some people, moto camping is about bringing as little as possible. Camp is where they sleep. Riding is the priority. On the other end of that spectrum is a rider I like to call the kitchen sinker. The kitchen sinker is all about comfort. They have everything they need to avoid any possible discomfort, whether it's on or off the bike. These riders tend to gravitate, pun intended, towards the bigger bikes. You'll usually see them on a big BMW, a Pan America, or the much maligned, at least by me, Yamaha Super Tenere. These bikes deliver the most enjoyable highway miles and have the carrying capacity to bring along just about anything you could want or need on the road or in camp. What's another 80 pounds when you're on a bike that already weighs 600? Their bikes have windscreens, heated grips, heated seats, radar-assisted cruise control, navigation, ride modes, and electronic suspension that adjusts to every tiny change in terrain in real time. Soft luggage? Absolutely not. The kitchen sinker has a color-matched set of aluminum panniers with a matching top box, all of which lock securely to protect the thousands of dollars of gear inside. Within that fortress of aluminum is the best, most comfortable tent money can buy. Some of these guys even carry a tent big enough to not only sleep in, but also to park their bike inside. You can't have that bike you spent $30,000 on getting wet. Sacrilege. Their sleeping pad is an Exped Megamat or something similarly thick and luxurious. Underneath the sleeping pad is a collapsible cot, and on top is a plush sleeping bag carefully selected for the temperatures anticipated for each specific trip. There's also at least one extra blanket just in case the weather forecast is off by a few degrees. Their pillows are full size and plush. Memory foam is everywhere. When it's time to set up camp, they pull out at least one table and a reclining chair with a full backrest. At dinner time, they have an assortment of cooking utensils, a full-on multi-burner stove, and definitely at least one pot or skillet made of cast iron. The minimalist may be fine with chewing on some wood sorrel they found next to their tent, but the kitchen sinker is out here enjoying a multi-course meal, followed by miraculously still frozen ice cream. If on and off-road comfort is your priority, you might be a kitchen sinker. They are the ultimate ride-to-camp moto camper. Obviously, these are extremely different approaches, but they all fall along the same spectrum. Whether you like to be comfortable or prefer to sleep balanced precariously on a sturdy tree branch, we're all out there to explore and enjoy the outdoors. Each approach has benefits and advantages, and the reality is most of us fall somewhere in the middle, taking different bits and pieces from all of them. Some like to keep it as light as possible, but absolutely need the most comfortable sleep setup they can bring. Others might want to go super minimalist but need more space for things like a CPAP machine, which limits their luggage choices. Some riders can limit what they carry because they prioritize more inclusive camp spots with things like showers, on-site laundry, and even the occasional yurt or cabin. Despite what you read in the internet comment sections, there is no right or wrong way to go camping. If bringing a second pillow is the difference between going camping and staying home for you, then throw that damn thing in your bag and start riding. It doesn't matter how you camp. What matters is that you go. If a minimalist is a 1 and a kitchen sinker is a 10, where would you say you fall on that scale? Let us know in the comments. Whether you just need a loincloth and a stick or you're looking to furnish your Taj Mahal of a tent, Moto Camp Nerd has whatever you need to make your motorcycle camping dreams come true. Moto Camp Nerd has the world's best and most carefully curated selection of motorcycle camping and motorcycle adventure gear. Our goal at Moto Camp Nerd is to help you pack small so you can camp easy.